Let's see how many pages I can read Monday through Friday while working full-time. Everything you can imagine when your fiance leaves you like the day before your wedding. They have history, they have lore, there's tension. I feel like I have the same day over and over and over, and I contribute that to corporate America. But I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this book. I have no clue if Phoebe is finally gonna get it done. Hi friends and readers, another week, yet again, another reading vlog. We're gonna keep it very casual this week. There's not going to be a theme to what I'm reading other than I'm just gonna mood read, pick up 2 books that I've been really wanting to read and are newer releases. And with that, I thought it would be just a fun way to track my reading for the week to see how many pages I read while working full time. That's 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. So we're gonna follow along Monday through Friday this week to see after the end of the day how much I read. During a work week, I tend to only read on my lunch breaks and after work. There's not much reading being done before work, that's for sure. And honestly, I mostly film clips for updates on my lunch break. So really, majority of my reading is being done after 5 p.m. And this week in particular, I don't have any large plans after work Monday through Friday, which means I get a lot of time set aside for my hobbies, which include reading. And especially for a week where I'm reading things that I just want to read and are new releases that I've been anticipating, I have a feeling I'm going to read as much as I would desire to read in a week. So it's a really good capture or a really good screenshot of what it really means to read during a full-time work week, for me at least. Now, a week like this could look totally different if I had a lot of evening plans, but I don't. So here we are. It is Monday, also on my lunch break, so I am going to pick up Carley Fortune's Our Perfect Storm. This book came out within the last month. I only read a little bit of it last night. I made it to page 23, so we're picking up with page 23 today. That's where our tracker will start with pages. That's chapter 3, and we're gonna see how much we read on a Monday. I'll update you tomorrow on my lunch break with the final tally of the day. It's a bit rainy and gloomy as well, and Monday evenings, really all I do is cook dinner for the rest of the week. I meal prep with my boyfriend, so I have a feeling we're gonna read a good bit tonight. Hello, we have made it to Tuesday. I am in fact on my lunch break. It's like 12:25 p.m. and I'm here for some updates on how many pages we read yesterday, which was Monday. I started on page 223 of Our Perfect Storm by Carley Fortune, and I finished last night in bed on page 139, which is chapter 19. So we still got a good bit left in this book, but definitely read a good bit yesterday. That is a total of 116 pages. I read on the couch last night, and then I got back in bed and read with like a reading light and laid with my cats while my boyfriend slept, and it basically put me to bed. So I had a really good evening relaxing and reading last night. So we are gonna pick up with page 139 today. Let's talk a little bit about Carley Fortune and why I decided to pick up Our Perfect Storm. That's because I read a book by Carley Fortune last year around this time, and that was One Golden Summer. This was my first Carley Fortune book, which if you follow Carley Fortune, you know that there are other books by this author that have similar covers. I think one's even becoming a TV show in the next few weeks. I did not start with those books. I actually started with Carley Fortune at the Times new release and went from there. The reason why I picked up my first Carley Fortune book, One Golden Summer, was because I started my YouTube channel, and the first video I ever did was reading Sarah Crowley's 5-star reads. Sarah Crowley is a creator on this app on YouTube, so I decided to read their 5-star reads, and one of those was One Golden Summer. I gave One Golden Summer a 4.5 star. Whew. All that to say, I read the book and really enjoyed it. I decided I didn't at the time want to go back to Carly Fortune's backlog of books, especially the ones in this sort of interconnected world, just to see how I like them first before doing that. So I feel like what I'm going to do is give Carly Fortune a second go with Our Perfect Storm. If I really like it, like One Golden Summer, then I might go back to the backlog, especially if there's a TV show coming out and I want to feel caught up and in the loop, then that might encourage me to read the other books. As you can tell just from the covers, I am a little disappointed that this was paperback and this one's a hard copy. That is a bit frustrating. The difference is crazy. These are very summer romances. They are often based in summer settings as well as released at the beginning of summer or right before summer. So a lot of times people are recommending these on summer TBRs. This book that we are currently reading this week, it looks like it's about 406 pages, so just over 400 pages, which is a good length. So we will be approaching halfway through this book by the end of today. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'll give you a quick synopsis on what Our Perfect Storm is about. We are following our main character, Frankie. Now, we start out the beginning of this book because Frankie is getting married to a guy named Nate. However, Frankie also has a best friend, and that best friend is George. George has been Frankie's best friend since they were little ones, running around in the backyard, doing mischievous things that little ones do while outside and trying to buy time. Frankie has invited George to be her best man at her wedding, and it is a few days before the wedding. I think they're doing their rehearsal dinner or some wedding shenanigans. So not quite married, but almost married. Frankie doesn't see George. George isn't there. She is not sure if George is going to show up to her wedding and be the best man, and we're kind of left out of the loop as to why. It does seem like George and Frankie had a fight a few months prior at Christmas time or something like that. However, the night is going on and George finally shows up and Frankie is so happy to have her best man there. It makes her have that much of a better night and things are on a roll, ready for the wedding. Except for the next morning, Frankie wakes up and her fiance Nate has left her a letter that says, "I cannot marry you." No context. We don't know why he suddenly got cold feet, left the morning after. We don't know. And so Frankie goes home and begins the wallowing, the grief, everything you can imagine when your fiance leaves you like the day before your wedding. And then George, her best friend, sparks the idea with the encouragement of some of Frankie's friends and family to take Frankie's honeymoon. The trip is mostly paid for, so why not go on the honeymoon, have a good time, eat away your feelings, relax in the sun. Maybe that'll help you grieve the relationship you just let go of, and George, your best friend, can go with you. Well, Frankie decides that she will go on her honeymoon and she will go with George, and despite them being best friends and knowing each other like the back of each other's hands, there seems to be tension. There's something that is getting in the way of their friendship, and we'll leave it at that. We're gonna start reading today, Tuesday, and see what our final count for the day will be and how we enjoy Our Perfect Storm, the second book I'm picking up by this author. All right. It is Wednesday, thank goodness, which means we completed Tuesday. And by completed Tuesday, I literally mean completed Tuesday. This is not a challenge. This is just a genuine how much I'm reading this week. I did work from home yesterday, 8 hours of my day, and then I read all after work yesterday. I sat outside on the patio with my cats so they could enjoy some fresh air. I read my book, and then I read a little bit in bed last night before falling asleep. Yesterday, we ended on page 258. We stopped at chapter 34, or that's page 259, which brings our total count for Tuesday to 120. So Monday we read 116, Tuesday 120, and now it is Wednesday yet again on my lunch break, and we are still in Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. I think that I'm going to try to read the most amount so far this week tonight. Again, again, no evening plans, and I think that I'm going to want to finish this entire book. There is probably about 140 something, 150 pages left. I imagine that if I get anywhere close to finishing it, I'm just gonna finish it. Plus, the second book that I wanted to read this week just released yesterday, and I'm really excited about it too. This has just been a really exciting reading week. I'm really enjoying this book so far, feeling really good. Right now it's giving 4 or even 5-star feelings. I do somehow wish that I saved it for my cruise coming up. It feels like this would have been a good book to be reading out by the pool or out on the cruise deck or out at the beach. One thing I'll say about this is that it is childhood best friends, and if you know or follow romance books at all, we know where this book is going. They're stuck on a honeymoon together. They have history, they have lore, there's tension. You're in a romantic getaway meant for people being married, but you're just best friends. I mean, come on. We know what's going to happen. We're just waiting for Frankie and George to know what's going to happen and not miscommunicate about it. And it's bound to happen in the last 150 pages, right? So let's keep reading. I imagine this will be a good rating, but who knows? We never know. I'll let you know tomorrow, hopefully once I finish this. The sun is finally shining today. I feel like it has been so rainy and so gross all week. We finally have a lunch break where the sun is out. Oh my god. The birds are chirping. The cats are watching at the front door. Yesterday was Wednesday and we read the most amount of pages we have, which I anticipated would happen. I, again, read after work yesterday, and really my cats have been wanting to go out on the screened-in patio like every day. And so I go out there with them, and that's a lot of the times mostly where I get my reading done because they need to be supervised and I want to do something that is refreshing outside, and so I get to read and be outside at the same time. I absolutely love it. And a bonus, yesterday it was absolutely pouring down rain for a few minutes, so I got to experience the rain and the read, and then the sun came out immediately after, so we were just vibing in the humidity out there after that. I sat down last night in bed yet again. I feel like I have the same day over and over and over, and I contribute that to corporate America. Read in bed and was feeling very inspired. We actually finished Carly Fortune's Our Perfect Storm. I finished the book, which was up to page 403, and not only did we finish Our Perfect Storm, which we'll come back to, but I also started the next book, which is Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It by Brooke Averick, and I read one chapter in that. So we finished Wednesday with a total of 158 pages. I feel like it's so far away. 158 pages, and today we're just gonna pick up right where we left off by starting into Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It. This is the book that I was super excited for, and I'm on chapter 2. Before we get into Phoebe, let's get into Our Perfect Storm. I'm gonna rate this somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5 star. It was so easy to read. I felt like I was just zooming through this. Same thing with the first book I read by this author. The writing is so easy, and I think you know what you're biting off when you pick a book up like this one. It's childhood friends to lovers. I mean, what do you think's gonna happen? If you like that trope, you're gonna love this book. Yes, there is some miscommunication, and yes, there is a third act conflict. That aside, I had a great time. I do wish I was out on a beach reading this. This is a perfect book to pick up when you are having a beach vacation. And yesterday, while I was reading in the pouring down rain and they themselves were going through a storm on the honeymoon, it was perfect. I especially love our character George. Didn't think I would like a character named George. It was, I don't know any Georges in my life, so saying George in my head was just throwing me off, alongside the name Frankie, which love both of the names, but I was just, you know, it's just one of those things. Now, do I feel inspired to go pick up Carly Fortune's backlog? I don't know, you let me know. How do we feel about the earlier books that are sort of interconnected slash have similar covers as this one, especially the one coming out with a TV show? With Our Golden Summer, I know that the brother who I met in Our Golden Summer has a book that I haven't read, so maybe I would go back and read that one. Drop in the comments if you think it's worth my time, because a 4.5 for both Carly Fortune books that I've read, I'm having a good time. Hey, come here. That's my cat telling me he wants to go outside on the patio. Come here. Hello. This is Archie. He's the reason we go outside every night. It's a beachy, summery book. It's romance, and honestly, you know, with romance, there's a general format that romance books follow. I don't know. Take that as you will. I had a good time. And now, Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It. I am so excited to get into this book even further. I've said it before in my summer TBR video. I really don't know Brooke Averick all that much outside of their internet persona, this author. Nonetheless, I think they're hilarious in the ways that I do know them, and I also am obsessed with this cover. If we're going cover alone, I would have immediately picked this up. And the inside of it, I don't have a bookmark in there just yet. The inside of it with the cherries, everything about this book I'm just super excited about. All the discourse online I see is calling this book, instead of Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It, they're all like, Phoebe is out in the world, and it's like personifying the book itself aside from the title of the book, and I've just enjoyed everything about it. That alone might make me rate this so highly. And it's a shorter book, so I feel like we're gonna fly through this today. It's Thursday. Again, nothing to do this evening. Let's get reading. We finally made it to Friday. Oh my goodness, this has felt like the longest work week of my life. I don't know what it is, despite a great reading week in my life. Yesterday was Thursday, and yet again, I read everything after work. I read a little bit on my lunch break yesterday, actually. A little bit on my lunch break, after work, and in bed last night. And we actually had our lowest reading day of the week so far. I started on page 14 of Phoebe, and I finished on page 102. So we read about 88 pages of Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It, and I have shed the dust jacket. She's sitting right here next to me. This book is like the perfect length, and with it being hardback, it's so easy to manipulate because it's not too big. I honestly don't know why I read less pages yesterday. I just read how I was feeling, how much I wanted to read, and I ended up going to bed a little bit earlier last night. I would say we are halfway through this book, and that is because I've also read a little bit today already. It's currently my lunch break, and I read this morning when I got up because I got up a little bit earlier. We are currently on page 136. So far for Friday, we've read about 34 pages. And we're on chapter 12. How many pages are in this book? Oh yeah, 288 pages. So we are quite literally approaching halfway. In my opinion, this is gonna be the perfect length. And I do think that Phoebe is classified as a adult romance. Let me go fact check myself. I think also a little bit of romantic comedy, but yes, adult romance. I am feeling very good about the book so far. It's feeling very 4 stars halfway through, maybe a 5-star depending on what the ending is like and what happens with our character Phoebe. So far in this book, what I can say is, first off, even the cover without the dust jacket is so stinking cute. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this book. I'm glad I pre-ordered it, and I'm glad it's on my shelf. I would happily lend this out to a friend, which I am in fact going to, because I have a friend who follows Brooke Averick, doesn't read necessarily as much, but wants to read Brooke's book. Also, side note, if you want to listen to it, it is included in Spotify Premium, your monthly listening hours of 15 hours. And I do think that I gave it a quick listen to see, and it sounds like it's Brooke narrating the book herself. What I'm feeling so far with Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It is that we, and by we I mean readers, myself, I think that there is going to be a part of Phoebe, this character, that anyone can see themselves in. Phoebe is so relatable, and I really do think that's the intention behind this character. When you open up the book, there is a note from the author, and Brooke says, much like the character in the book you're about to read, I love love. Rom-coms, romance novels are the greatest sort of comfort for me, which is ironic because sex and dating are two things that cause me the most stress and anxiety in real life. Physical intimacy seems to come naturally to most of the characters in romance stories, and so when I started writing about Phoebe, my initial hope was that this book centered around a character with crippling intimacy anxiety and would find its place on the romance table sandwiched in between an Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez title. It took me writing all of 5 pages to realize why we haven't seen narratives like Phoebe's in the romance section. Simply put, anxiety is not romantic. It's messy, uncomfortable, funny, sad, and all of these things make it difficult to create a modern day fairy tale. And I think that that author's note has never more clearly defined expectations of what this romance story would look like for Phoebe and the people reading about Phoebe's romance. And I love that. I love that opening, and I hope that folks are reading that author's note. I'm a big fan of Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez, but I think Brooke is totally right here in that this is a unique romance story, and especially probably a unique one to what you're seeing and hearing about, and even books that I'm reading. So I'm so glad that I'm picking it up. Our character Phoebe is a 30-year-old virgin, and she's basically created this list of things to do that will help her lose her virginity because she feels like it's important in where she's at in life right now. She's got a great group of friends. She has a great job that she loves as a teacher, but she does feel like she's lacking in the romance world. What I love so far is that our character Phoebe also likes rom-coms, and so we kind of center her dating life, or her really newly found dating life now that she's trying to accomplish this task, around, you know, what it would look like in a romance novel or a rom-com movie. And I think that's a fun part, especially if you yourself as a reader enjoy those things. Phoebe is now suddenly going from never dating anyone to now having interest in someone she's been texting frequently but has never gone on a date with, someone who she works with now, and someone she lives with. So we have 3 romance interests here. I personally don't know who it's gonna be in the end. I'm excited to keep reading today. Let's see what we finish up with on Friday. It is Friday evening, so it's just a few hours since I filmed the update for Thursday today, and I want to give an update on our final reading count for Friday, and that's because we've got some friends coming over within like the next 10 minutes, so I know I'm not going to be able to read for the rest of today, so we're wrapping up this week's reading. I did not finish Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It, but I am close to finishing. I have about that much left, which is probably about less than 100 pages. So less than 100 pages left. I finished on chapter 19, which means we finished Friday with a total of 97 pages read. So a little bit more than yesterday and a little bit less than the rest of the days this week. I need to do some quick math to see how many total pages we read this whole entire week. All right, according to my calculations, we read 579 pages in the week, which means we've read also 1 3/4 of a book, which is a pretty average reading week for me. I feel like I'm reading about 2 books a week, and a lot of times I'm especially more motivated to read when I get to talk to friends and readers about it. Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It, it's probably gonna be a 4-star for me. I'm not getting the exact 5-star feeling, but I love, love, love Phoebe, and I love what Phoebe represents, and I love who we get to see also represented in this character for Phoebe, all the anxiety that she's processing and working through in a funny and comedic way, but also in a serious, meaningful way. I think that this is a meaningful story, and with the 3 people that we are dealing with, I have no clue if Phoebe is finally gonna get it done in this story or later on down the road. I am excited to finish up this book. It'll just be off screen. If you're interested in a video where you see how much I read in a work week like this week, this was very realistic, so I'm happy to do it again. That's all. Bye for now.